So it's time for us to write the first application. It is going to be a simple calculator application. The reason it's going to be simple is because it will give us a chance to not dwell on the complexity of the application, but instead focus on the basics and fundamentals and overall process we will be using to solve problems moving forward. And as we're moving forward, as mentioned, the complexity of each application in each section will increase because your understanding of each concept will be much stronger. So what is acceptance criteria? Google defines it as pre-established standards or requirements that a project or a product must meet. So these are your software requirements or feature requirements that you need to satisfy in order for it to be considered done by your employer or your client. Here is ours. As a user, I would like to be able to provide two numbers and one of the four basic operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and then see the result of that operation based on my input of two numbers. And here's an example. We have three inputs, two of them are number inputs, and then we have an operation. And then our output is a result of that operation based on the two inputted numbers. Now, one more thing. It is not very clear in our acceptance criteria whether we also need to add support for the words add, subtract, multiply, and divide, instead of just taking care of the symbols. The reason why I made this nebulous is to make this point. In your career, there are going to be times when your acceptance criteria is not going to be very clear, and it will be your responsibility to ask questions in order to clarify any confusion. In our case, we would ask if we should support the words along with the symbols. Now let's assume that after we ask, we get the answer that we actually do need to support the words as well. So once we find that out, another good question to ask would be if we want to make the comparison case insensitive. For example, if we have the word add in all caps, should it be equivalent to add in all lowercase letters, the way we have it in the acceptance criteria, or should it be not treated the same? So once again, let's assume that after we ask that question, we get the answer that we do want to make the comparison case insensitive. And once again, don't be scared to ask questions. Even if they sound simple in your mind, don't be scared to ask these questions, because at the end, you want to make sure that you're clear about everything in your acceptance criteria. Also, it will show your client or your employer that you really care about your craft and you really care about the software that you're building. So a few other questions would be, what do we do if the first two inputs are not numerical? Another question would be, what do we do if the given operation is not recognized? These are very important questions to ask because anything that has to do with the user experience is very important. And once again, let's assume that after asking these questions, we get the answer that for each, we want to throw a specific error. So there we have it. This is our acceptance criteria. And remember, if you have any confusion in your own acceptance criteria in real life, don't forget to ask questions and be very clear in what you need to do.